In the quiet hours of the deep night, the world outside falls into a heavy velvet silence, yet inside the palm of your hand, a frantic storm rages on. You are caught in the glow of a cold, blue light, a digital campfire that offers no warmth, only the flickering shadows of lives you will never lead. This is the modern ritual of the scroll, a rhythmic, repetitive motion that numbs the senses while sharpening the sting of 1,000 unseen needles. You are not just looking at content. You are measuring the worth of your existence against a curated mirage. Observe the face of the modern observer, illuminated by the harsh luminescence of the liquid crystal display. The eyes are wide, unblinking, and glazed with a peculiar kind of hunger, a desire to be elsewhere, to be someone else, to possess the filtered joys of a stranger. There is a profound tragedy in this stillness, as the body remains frozen in a dark room, while the mind is dragged through a chaotic gallery of high-definition envy. Every swipe is a silent confession that the present moment is somehow insufficient, a void waiting to be filled by the noise of others. We have built a digital panopticon, a circular prison where we are both the inmates and the guards, perpetually watching and being watched. The algorithm is the invisible architect of our discontent, feeding us a relentless stream of peak experiences. The weddings, the promotions, the sculpted bodies, and the sun-drenched vacations. It carefully omits the mundane, the painful, and the ordinary, leaving us with a distorted map of reality. We compare our messy, unedited behind-the-scenes footage with everyone else's polished highlight reel. And in that unfair comparison, we find the seeds of a deep, corrosive shame. The shame is not loud, it does not scream. Instead, it is a low-frequency hum that vibrates beneath the surface of your daily life. It tells you that you are falling behind, that your kitchen is too small, your career too stagnant, and your relationships too dull. It is a theft of the soul, committed in broad daylight by 1,000 tiny interactions. You find yourself mourning a life you never had, grieving for a version of yourself that only exists in the hypothetical space between your thumb and the glass. This is the heavy price of constant connectivity, the fragmentation of the self. Consider the biology of this addiction. With every scroll, the brain releases a microdose of dopamine, a chemical promise of reward that never truly arrives. We are like lab rats in a Skinner box, pressing the lever of refresh in hopes of finding a grain of validation. But the more we consume, the more the baseline of our joy recedes. What was once extraordinary becomes the standard, and what was once enough becomes an insult. We are overstimulated and undernourished, starving for genuine connection while drowning in a sea of superficial data points. This is the era of the quantified self, where we have outsourced our self-esteem to the metrics of the machine. We count our likes, our views, and our followers as if they were gold coins in a treasury of worth. But this currency is hyperinflationary. It loses its value the moment it is earned. We are trapped in a hedonic treadmill of social comparison, running faster and faster just to stay in the same place of psychological insecurity. The more we look outward for a reflection of our value, the more the internal mirror cracks and fades into obscurity. The scroller's shame is a uniquely modern pathology, a digital sickness that eats away at the capacity for presence. It creates a state of continuous partial attention, where we are never fully where we are, because we are always partially where everyone else is. We walk through forests while thinking of the photos others took in better forests. We eat meals while wondering why they don't look as aesthetic as the ones on our feed. We have become tourists in our own lives, perpetually distracted by the postcards of others' journeys. Deep down, there is a mounting sense of existential vertigo. If everyone is living a life of perpetual bliss and productivity, what does that make you? The silence of your own room becomes unbearable because it lacks the soundtrack of success. You begin to perform your life rather than live it, choosing experiences based on their shareability rather than their inherent meaning. The authentic self is buried under layers of performance, leaving behind a hollow shell that only feels alive when it is being perceived by the digital other. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once remarked that comparison is the end of happiness and the beginning of discontent. He wrote this long before the advent of the silicon chip, yet his words pierce through the centuries to find us in our digital malaise. He understood that when we measure ourselves against the external, we lose the internal anchor of our being. We become like leaves in a windstorm, tossed about by the changing tides of public opinion and the shifting standards of social perfection. We have lost the ability to stand still in our own truth. As Act 1 draws to a close, we must confront the uncomfortable reality. We are addicted to our own diminishment. We return to the scroll not because it makes us happy, but because we have forgotten how to be alone with our thoughts. The shame has become a familiar companion, a dark shadow that we have mistaken for our own identity. But beneath this digital noise, there is an ancient silence waiting to be rediscovered, a wisdom that has survived empires and outlived every technology. To find it, we must first learn to put down the glass and look within. We turn now to the ruins of the past, where the Stoic masters walked the marble halls of Rome and Athens. They did not have smartphones, but they had the human heart, and they knew its tendency to wander into the territory of envy. Seneca, the great statesman and philosopher, warned that envy is a tiny thing, but it consumes the soul as rust consumes iron. He understood that the desire for what others have is a form of self-inflicted slavery. To the Stoic, the only true wealth was the mastery of one's own mind and the cultivation of an inner fortress. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of the known world, sat in his tent on the edges of the empire and wrote to himself, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if thou wilt ever dig." Even as the most powerful man on earth, he struggled with the opinions of others and the temptation of vanity. He practiced the art of objective representation, stripping things of their glamour to see them for what they truly are. He would see a purple robe not as a symbol of power, but as sheep's wool dyed with the blood of a shellfish. Apply this Stoic lens to the digital world. That influencer's perfect vacation is merely a collection of pixels and light, a curated arrangement of matter designed to trigger a specific response. The perfect body is a temporary arrangement of atoms, destined to age and decay just like your own. When we strip away the digital filters, we find a shared human vulnerability. By practicing this deconstruction, the power of the image begins to dissolve. We stop seeing gods and start seeing fellow travelers, equally flawed and equally searching for meaning in a chaotic universe. In the East, the Buddha taught the concept of mudita, or sympathetic joy. This is the radical practice of finding happiness in the success of others, rather than viewing it as a threat to our own. It is the antidote to the poison of comparison. When we scroll with a heart full of envy, we are tightening the knots of our own suffering. But when we look at the joy of another and feel a genuine sense of celebration, we break the walls of the ego. We realize that joy is not a finite resource to be hoarded, but a shared ocean in which we all swim. The wisdom of the Tao tells us that he who is content with what he has is rich. The Taoist masters observed the natural world. The tree does not compare itself to the mountain. The river does not envy the sea for its vastness. Each element exists in its own zuran, or self-soness. Our modern shame arises from the rejection of our own nature in favor of an artificial ideal. We are trying to be mountains when we are rivers, and in doing so, we lose the grace of our own flow. True peace is found in returning to the source of our own being. Consider the concept of anatta, or no self. Much of our digital suffering comes from the desperate attempt to build and defend a self that can be projected onto the screen. We treat our identity like a brand that must be managed and optimized. But the ancient wisdom suggests that this self is a construction, a flickering flame in a high wind. When we stop trying to be someone in the eyes of the digital world, the weight of comparison begins to lift. If there is no fixed me to be inferior, the shame has nowhere to land. Epictetus, the slave-turned-philosopher, taught that our happiness depends entirely on what we can control and what we cannot. We cannot control the algorithm. We cannot control the curated lives of others. We cannot control the fleeting nature of digital trends. What we can control is our judgment and our attention. If you place your well-being in the hands of the scrolling gods, you are a hostage to fortune. But if you anchor your joy in your own character and your own actions, you become invincible to the winds of social media. The ancient wisdom invites us to practice voluntary hardship or asceticism, not as a punishment, but as a liberation. In our context, this is the digital fast. By intentionally stepping away from the noise, we allow the nervous system to recalibrate. We rediscover the texture of the real world, the smell of rain, the weight of a physical book, the sound of our own breath. We realize that the digital world was not the ocean, but a shallow, noisy pond. In the silence of the fast, we find the strength to reclaim our inner peace. This is not a call to move to a cave, but a call to build a monastery of the mind in the midst of the modern world. It is the realization that your attention is your most sacred resource, the very currency of your life. Every time you blindly scroll, you are spending your life's blood on things that do not love you back. The ancient masters teach us to be the gatekeepers of our own senses, to choose carefully what we allow into the sanctuary of our souls. We are the architects of our own internal atmosphere. As we conclude Act 2, the path forward becomes clear. The shame of the scroller is a symptom of a misplaced soul. We have been looking for our reflection in a shattered mirror, wondering why we look broken. The ancient wisdom provides the glue to mend the mirror, or better yet, the courage to stop looking at the reflection altogether and start living the reality. The reclamation of joy is not found in having more, but in wanting less of what does not matter. It is a return to the essential, the quiet, and the true. To reclaim your peace, you must first declare a ceasefire in the war against yourself. The act of reclamation begins with the radical acceptance of your ordinariness. In a world that demands you be extraordinary to be worthy, there is a profound power in being simply, quietly human. You do not need to be a brand or a content creator or a success story. You are a conscious being witnessing the unfolding of the universe, and that in itself is a miracle that no amount of digital validation can enhance or diminish. Begin the practice of the slow look. Instead of consuming 1,000 images in a minute, spend 10 minutes looking at a single thing: a leaf, a stone, the movement of a shadow. Train your brain to find depth where you once only sought speed. The algorithm has conditioned us for the skim, for the shallow surface of things. By slowing down, we re-engage the prefrontal cortex, the part of us that is capable of awe and contemplation. We move from being users of technology to being observers of life. Create sacred borders in your physical environment. Designate areas of your home and times of your day where the digital world is strictly forbidden. Let the dinner table be a place of conversation, not of scrolling. Let the bedroom be a sanctuary for rest, not a cockpit for social comparison. By creating these boundaries, you are reclaiming your sovereignty. You are signaling to yourself that your physical reality is more important than the virtual one. You are building a fence around your peace, protecting it from the colonizing force of the screen. Redefine your relationship with success. The digital world defines success as visibility and accumulation. The ancient wisdom defines success as ataraxia, a state of untroubled equanimity. Ask yourself, if no one ever saw what I was doing, would I still find value in it? If the answer is no, then you are performing, not living. Find the activities that offer intrinsic rewards. The hobbies, the conversations, and the moments of service that leave you feeling full, even if they never result in a single like. Understand that the scroller's shame is a ghost that disappears when you stop feeding it. It thrives on your attention. When you withdraw your gaze from the filtered lives of others and turn it toward the cultivation of your own garden, literal or metaphorical, the shame starves. You begin to realize that you are not behind because there is no race. There is only your path, and it is unfolding at exactly the right pace. The comparison was an illusion, a trick of the light played on a tired mind. Practice digital minimalism. This is not about being a Luddite, but about being an intentional user of tools. Delete the apps that leave you feeling hollow. Unfollow the accounts that trigger your envy. Turn off the notifications that interrupt your flow. Transform your device from a master into a servant. When you control the input, you control the output of your emotions. You are no longer a passive recipient of the world's noise, but an active curator of your own experience. Cultivate the internal citadel. This is the Stoic practice of building a mental space that cannot be touched by external events. When you see something online that triggers a sense of inadequacy, pause. Observe the feeling without identifying with it. Say to yourself, this is a thought, not a truth. This is a pixel, not a reality. By creating this distance, you prevent the shame from taking root. You become the mountain, and the digital noise becomes the clouds that drift across your peak without altering its stone. The final step is the return to community. Real, tangible, messy community. We scroll because we are lonely, but the scroll only deepens the loneliness. Reclaim your joy by looking into the eyes of a friend, by feeling the warmth of a handshake, by engaging in the unfiltered reality of human connection. In the presence of others, our shame often dissolves. because we realize that everyone is carrying their own invisible burdens. We find that the perfect people online are just as lost as we are, and in that shared vulnerability, we find true belonging. As the sun rises on a new day, you have a choice. You can reach for the glass and begin the cycle of comparison once more, or you can step out into the morning air and breathe in the reality of your own life. The shame is a heavy coat you have been wearing for too long. You can simply take it off. The ancient wisdom is not a set of rules, but a reminder of who you already are beneath the digital noise. A being of infinite worth, capable of profound peace, and worthy of a joy that requires no audience. The scroll ends here, but your life begins now. Put down the device. Look around you. Notice the way the light hits the floor, the sound of the wind in the trees, the steady beat of your own heart. You are here. You are present. You are enough. The world is vast and beautiful and waiting for you to participate in it, not just watch it through a screen. Reclaim your peace, reclaim your joy, and walk forward into the light of the real world. The silence is no longer an enemy. It is your home.